Good afternoon. Welcome to Sportsline YXE. I'm Linda Walker. Thank you so much for joining us on your lunch break at work or your housework, yard work, around the home, whatever you're up to today. But I won't tell the boss if you're skipping work to do the yard work there. Today we are going to talk Husky football, which I'm very excited to have the opportunity to talk about. I've followed this team for I don't even want to say how many years. And they have become one of the most successful programs, not just in Canada West, but across the country as well. And some great news coming for all of Canada West on May 5th. Canada West Board of Governors voting to resume the regular season in the fall using alternative formats, which is fabulous news that we are going to be able to hang out at Potash Park, Circus Stadium, and at the Pack and at the soccer fields, whatever sport you want to follow, we're going to have a chance to do that again this fall. Also for the Husky football team, the CFL draft a week ago, 3 players being selected. Nelson Lacombo going first round, second pick to our home province, Saskatchewan Roughriders. Connor Bergloff, an offensive lineman, went in round 3, pick 24. He is going to the Ottawa Redblacks, who certainly need some help on that offensive line to protect the quarterbacks. And safety Josh Haggerty going in the 6th round, 27th pick to the Toronto Argonauts. And I think Josh can do a lot of good for their defense to help them out. So joining me today is the former offensive lineman for the Huskies, a 15-year CFLer with the Montreal Alouettes, Scott Flory, the head coach. She named head coach in 2017. And Scott, you got to be incredibly happy and proud for these guys having an opportunity to go to CFL training camps, and hopefully all 3 will be suiting up in CFL uniforms in August.
Absolutely. First off, hi Linda, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean it's nice that these guys are going to have that opportunity. I really wish that we've had the ability to play here and be able to get out on the field, and but yeah, there's a lot happening around football without anything really happening. So I'm really proud of these guys, though. I mean, all the work that they put in, all the off season, and all the virtual combines and all that kind of stuff. Brighter days are ahead, and hopefully these guys will get in those camps, those CFL camps, sooner than later, and they'll be able to really show their skills and how they can play.
I think we're pretty confident that, and I believe the Rough Riders do have the green light from Dr. Shahab to be able to do training camp and prepare for the CFL season. I know I read a comment a week or so ago from the Ontario Sports and Culture Minister that they haven't had a chance to even look at the CFL return to play proposal. BC, I believe there hasn't been approval there yet either. So it could be you're going to get a phone call from all these CFL teams asking if they can rent the stadium and the fields around Griffiths to hold their training camp so that they can prepare, Scott.
It's I kind of, not that I keep my head in the sand, but I'm really concerned, obviously, with what's going on here in Saskatchewan and Saskatoon particularly, so we can actually get out and be able to do some stuff. But the world, the news is changing daily, so I think I'm done kind of trying to keep up with it all. And when we're allowed to get out on the field and actually play some football, we'll be the first ones out there.
Well, let's talk about these three players as well. Nelson Lacombo, he has been amazing in his 4 years with you, and it has been, any time quarterback drops back to pass, I mean, he has just been phenomenal. Defensive Player of the Year in 2019, he certainly was, I believe, heads and tails above any other player in his position in the country.
Yeah, Nelson's been an absolute delight from the second. I mean, I was recruiting him to the second he showed up here to just every minute. I can't say enough good things about that young man. And I knew any team that was going to get him in the CFL draft there a couple weeks ago was going to get a gem. And I didn't know where he was going to go. I didn't know how early. I didn't think he'd make it past the middle of the first round, but you never really know. But I know, the Saskatchewan Roughriders got they got a keeper there in Nelson. There's no doubt that he can play. And whenever they're allowed to be in training camp or whatever, the fans will be able to see exactly what he can do. And I know he's excited to to be able to show what he can do as well.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is for a Canadian player. I think this is every player's dream, and you went through that dream and got to fulfill it with the Montreal Alouettes. So I'm sure you can relate to the feelings these guys had when the draft started and that waiting to see if their name was going to be called out. Scott, you were a third-round pick, I believe, by the Alouettes in '98.
Yeah, man, that was a long time ago. But yeah, it was weird. There was some forfeitures or what. Anyway, so I ended up being the second pick. They I don't know why, but they took Ben Cahoon ahead of me. But anyway, drafted Ben Cahoon, and then I was after Ben to Montreal. And yeah, back then I was on a web browser, but you're just hitting refresh, and then all of a sudden, your name pops up, and then the phone starts with the coaches and GMs and stuff. But it is. It's that nervous anticipation. It's no different than the first day or the night before training camp when you're kind of sitting in your bed. You're so excited, you want to get going, and you got to kind of relax, and it's kind of under your hands a little bit. So I think all those guys managed it really, really well, and all three anticipated going, and all three did go, and that's really the key, is that they got that opportunity.
Yeah, Connor Bergloff, terrific job at offensive lineman. He's the first team All-Canadian in 2019, Canada West All-Star. I'm going to read this because I don't want to mess anything up here and not get him the kudos, both players. Your offensive line paved the way for the top rushing offense in the country in 2019. That's huge, because we know there's some real powerhouse offensive university teams in Canada, Scott.
Yeah, no, I think you look at, like you're just talking about Nelson and his path. He comes right out of high school. He's 17, 18 years old, starts every game, doesn't, miss anything, has been, so fortunate on that side. Then you look at Connor's path, and he had some injury issues early, had to get the shoulder surgery done. And it was, and then he physically just absolutely matured and changed his body, and to put himself in position to where he is now, to be able to show that talent. And yeah, I think we had a pretty half decent running back, I'd say, and Adam Macker. One of those things where, man, you gotta ride the hot hand, and Adam just had an unbelievable year with Josh Uinchina and the supporting cast. But those big guys up front, they deserve a lot of that credit. And we had, I don't know how many explosive plays in the run game. 30+ yard runs. That's just usually that's the reverse in the passing game. So. And Connor was a huge part of that. He set the mindset of our offensive line. He's just such a physical player. He's a big, strong guy and really athletic. He moves and he bends well, and he's got a really good chance at a long, successful pro career.
Yeah, and in Ottawa, as I mentioned off the top, Ottawa certainly could use some help on that O-line. They were a little porous at times out there, so I'm sure Connor is going to get a good look by the Red Blacks. Josh Haggerty, it did not take long, I don't believe, for Husky fans to fall in love with this guy. He was so strong. 13.5 total tackles in just 6 games, and he had a career-high 5 tackles in the Hardy Cup tilt against the Calgary Dinos. But this guy, all over the field, he was great picking off passes. You couldn't help but love the enthusiasm that he brings onto the field every time he steps on it, Scott.
Yeah, no, for sure. Josh is, he's a long, lean athlete. He can run. He's physical. He moves well. He's got really good feet and hips. And the big thing from the CFL perspective is what they're looking at is, he's different from Nelson, right? And they're looking at, Nelson is going to come in, he's going to compete right away, and he can play on special teams too, don't get me wrong, but I think they're looking for different things. Whereas, a young Canadian defensive back, it's like linebackers, they got to be able to cut their teeth on special teams, and Josh can do that. He can run, he can be on punt team, he can be a gunner on kickoff, he can do all those kinds of things, and tackles really well, and he's physical. So I think, again, it's just one of those things where so happy he got that opportunity to win in the camp. There's no doubt. So coachable, smart. All that kind of stuff. All three of those guys, their football IQ stuff is so high, and they're just so adaptable. So and Josh particularly. I think Toronto they chose wisely, and they're going to see that in July or whenever they get into camp.
Yeah. Well, I know my fingers are crossed, and I don't know if I can cross them any tighter without hurting myself, Scott. But yeah, that would be nice. And I'm going to go back to Nelson for just a moment, just so people understand how special him being picked second overall. I mean, it's always special getting picked second overall, but for the Husky program, he becomes the fourth player to be chosen first or second. We've got Dan Farthing, who was chosen second in 91 by the Riders, Dylan Barker by the Hamilton Tiger Cats in 2008, he was first, and Ben Heenan, first in 2012. And all three of those guys, they're classy, they are very special talents. And I think probably you can equate these guys to being the same way, being humble, hardworking, always motivated to do well, whether you're talking a practice or video meeting, whatever it might be, Scott. If you need to talk football, these guys are right in there and giving you that 110% every time you're with them.
Yeah, I think it's just, you just look at premier athletes, and especially, I mean, for us, I can only speak for football and our sport, but all the best guys do all the right things. They just do, and that's just, I know it's kind of a general blanket statement, but it applies to all of these guys and all the names that you listed on there. We actually just had an alumni Zoom a couple weeks ago, and we had Dan on and speaking to all of our players, and I mean, it just, he was doing the right things 30 years ago, and he's still doing the right thing today, and you can just see that success in him. And it's no different than you're talking about with Nelson there. It's the same thing. He's where he needs to be all the time. He's working hard. He's not questioning. He's very accepting. He understands. He gets the big picture, and he buys into what we're doing. And when he does that, I think it just, any one of our athletes we talk about, it just frees you up to be able to, when you give yourself to the team, it's that unselfishness that shows that yourself in that, and that's where you can really shine in that, and that team aspect of our sport. And it's an individual component within the big picture of the team, and all those guys that you mentioned there, they get it. All these guys get it, and I think that most of our team, if not all of them, do. It's a process sometimes, but the best are usually the easiest at it.
I think we saw that the last time when you guys were able to play there in 2019. Nobody was picking the Huskies to wind up in the Hardy Cup, unless you followed the Huskies and were cheering for the Huskies and were on the team. But your guys, showed how united they were, and that goal that you set out at the beginning of the season, I mean, they more than surpassed, I think, expectations from those of us who aren't closely aligned with the team. I mean, we felt you'd be competitive, but could you make it to a championship game? That was, kind of the X factor, Scott.
Yeah, well, I just think for us and the program, since I've taken over, I think the whole process and getting hired in the spring, it's tough in the university, that ecosystem with recruiting and all that kind of stuff, to be kind of hired. In a 100-meter dash, I got hired at not a 50-meter line, at the minus 50-meter line. You know what I mean? I was 6 months behind, kind of, if not, further behind where other people were. So that 2017 season, I just, we were kind of adjusting and making it through. But that 2018, that January, I think that was I got better myself as a coach and a leader of this program. And I think our guys really bought in and changed their mindset into what it takes to be a successful program, and not just a team that wins here and there, but a program. And I think that, BT set that foundation many, many years ago. He was my coach, my mentor, my, colleague. And for us to be able to build on that in 2018, we won the Hardy Cup, went on to the national semifinal. Unfortunately, didn't win that game. And then to be in and, second place in 2019, and then be able to host a playoff game, and which hadn't been done in this program for 10 years. And then to get back to the Hardy Cup again. Wish it was at home and not on the road, but who knows, the fate might have been different, but that's not neither here nor there. But I think that just, from a program standpoint and what we do and the buy-in of our guys, and, just how important football is to these guys and to this community, they feel that, and they want to represent us really well. And they do, and they absolutely do.
Yeah, no question. Yes, and I brain locked on you and left out that championship and your chance to go to the semifinal there. But this is a program that I'm thinking now that you've had a chance, as you say, to improve as a coach, make your decisions on what kind of a program you want to be running, feeding off your mentors, whether it be BT, coaches that you worked with in Montreal, wherever they might be, high school, whatever it is, Scott. But it's got to be becoming also easier for you, if it was difficult, to be recruiting guys. You had 5 guys drafted for the CFL last year, 3 players this year. I mean, certainly, high school players, I mean, they're watching. They're looking at that. Their coaches are looking if they're giving advice to players as, where they might want to try to get in and be able to elevate themselves as players. So you have to be a guy who's getting a lot of phone calls, I'm thinking.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong, Linda. I think that when I look at it from the expectation standards that we have within the program, to me that transcends kind of everything we're doing. I am and highly involved with the recruiting part. I really, every guy that comes through this building and as a part of our football team, I absolutely, that's a reflection on me in this program. So I better be involved because it's going to come back on us at some point. And we're very selective in who we go after. I carry a somewhat small roster relative to our opponents by reason. I'm very, very selective in that because I want to be able to give our guys the opportunity and the ability to develop. I think that I've got to do my homework on the front end, and not everybody can be a Husky football player. Not everybody can play university football. And I'm going to be clear and blunt and upfront in the process. But I think in doing that, I think that we're doing a better job of getting the right guys and the guys that we want into this program. And I think you're right; it has been reflected not only in the recruiting but in the development of those guys in these last few years. I think teams, I've been there. I played there for a long time. I think I and the rest of a lot of our staff, we've got 13 Grey Cup rings on staff. I think our guys know what it takes to win and to win at the highest level. And I think it's for potential student athletes, I think that's something that they can look and aspire to. It's not the be all and end all. We're an academic institution. Let's not lose sight on that. But guys want to win. They want to have a great experience. And this program has proven to win year over year. It's proven to turn out outstanding young men that have the right beliefs and values and are good people in the community. And I think that, when you look at it from a 30,000-foot view, that's really what we want to do. And trust me, we want to be able to help and support all of our elite guys that have a chance to get a paycheck to play the game. I mean, really, that's kind of where guys want to go. Now they're going to have their education, they're going to have the degree, they're going to have all the support system and the safety nets to be able to fall back on. But it's pretty cool being a pro athlete, and it's pretty neat to get a paycheck for doing something that you absolutely love doing. So we're here to support and to help those guys and to get those select few along the way.
Well, I hope Jeremy O'Day won't take my next comment the wrong way, but you had a chance to play in Montreal, and I love Montreal. I mean, as a player, to wind up in a city like that with all the restaurants and other attractions, shoot, I know you got to focus on football, but I'm thinking it maybe doesn't get much better than that. So I'm just saying.
You're right, Lynn. I lived there. It was a big shock and adjustment when I first went there. We lived on this. I lived on this Nuns Island. All the Habs were out there, and the Expos were still around. And you'd see Saskatchewan at the grocery store. It'd be like kind of weird. And then you make the adjustment. It's such a big city compared to Regina or Saskatoon. But man, I lived there for 15 years and just loved it. I just loved being a part of it. Loved it's such a beautiful and such a great city. It's just. It was an amazing time to be there during the Renaissance in football. I got to see the Expos play. I've actually got one of my prized possessions is a authentic autograph Vlad Guerrero jersey before they took off. Yeah, their equipment manager ended up getting one, and Vladdy signed one for me, and it's like the real deal, like authentic, 44 plus 2 inches length or whatever, and Yeah, so it's it was pretty neat. You know, you get those dollar hot dog days. The Big O would be
Oh,
packed.
yeah.
You know, you'd see, man, I forget the picture. He'd be out back smoking all the time. His name, but different time.
If it were a little earlier in the Expos tenure, I would say it was probably Bill Lee, and it probably wasn't cigarettes that he was smoking. But and I have to admit that's part of my reason when I go to Montreal is for events to persuade Major League Baseball to get a team back into the city again. And so in my living room behind me, you probably can't see them all that well. There's an awful lot of Expo stuff behind me. And an awful lot of stuff in other parts of my house as well. That is, it's either Expos or Canadiens. So those are my two loves. But before I let you go, Scott, I do want to talk about 5 other guys who should get some attention, because we might be talking about them next year as being part of the CFL draft. East-West Bowl, unfortunately, with COVID, not safe health-wise to have that game played, which always a fun game. But you've got 5 players that were selected to the roster, and I think that's great that players at least have a chance to be selected and know that how respected they were in their talent and their abilities to be able to have a chance to potentially play the game. Nathan Cherry, that guy Adam Mackers that you talked about, Charlie Ringland, David Soley, and Noah Zier. So, I mean, that's just great for these guys. I mean, Mackert was Canada West Player of the Year. He is now the all-time leading rusher for the Huskies. It's just set new program season records. I may be ahead of myself here. Rushing yards, 1,334. All-purpose yards, 1,534. I mean, it was amazing. I'm spotting for the public address announcer, so I hope you don't hear when I make a mistake on a number and tell that to Jordy Houghton. But
No.
I got to tell you, it is one of my pleasures when I'm looking through the binoculars to see that handoff to Mackert, and next time I'm seeing him, he's in the end zone. So he's all of these guys are incredible, but Mackert was sweet watching him on offense.
No, you make some great points. Just talking about that East-West game. So what it is, if people don't know, it's kind of an all-star game for the guys going into their draft season. So the CFL puts it on. They fund a lot of it, and for them to get to basically play with the best third-year guys going into their senior or their draft year. We had, unfortunately, it was canceled at the last minute last year, about a month before guys were ready to fly out and stuff. Because of COVID, we had 5 guys selected last year, and then to have 5 guys again selected this year to be a part of it. I think it's I feel for those guys. Those guys are kind of the top, draft eligible guys for the following year. So the CFL really puts a lot of value in that, to be able to see and to talk and to, not just go off their game tape, but to see these guys up close. But to miss out on that again, it is pretty tough. But I'm really, really proud of those guys to actually, and I'm happy that we went through the process of selecting who these guys were, so the CFL knows and the public knows that, hey, we're going to watch for these players in the fall, because those guys are potential guys. Now, again, it's not the be all and end all. Josh Haggerty wasn't selected for this last year, and he ended up getting drafted, right? So, but it's a pretty cool experience to be a part of, and hopefully 2022 game will come back and we'll have another 5 or 6 guys for our Husky Green.
And we could have you coaching. I know BT had a chance to coach some games, so we might see you heading up the sideline coaching staff there, Scott.
Yeah, you never know. I think that it's the Vanier Cup coaches, so East-West is generally how they do it, but I don't know. I just like to go there and enjoy the weekend just to watch our guys. So I get to coach enough. I think I've taken on the biggest coaching assignment in my life here, Linda. I've been coaching an 11-year-old girls flag football team. So that's going to be I don't know if I've signed up for the right thing or not, but it's going to be a lot of fun anyway.
It'll be a blast. And those players, now that we have the Valkyries and the women's football league going, who knows? Yep. You could be prepping those girls to be Valkyries down the road. So that would be really good as well. So again, the feeder systems works for both men's and women's football, Scott. So that's great to be willing to do that. Just promise them Slurpees after every game, and I think you'll be okay no matter what.
Yeah, easily convinced, I suppose. Yeah, no, it's we're just all eagerly awaiting the return of sport. I think we're all missing it in this This last year has proven anything to us, just how important it really is in the ecosystem of it all. So just patiently awaiting.
Yeah, and fingers crossed, toes crossed, whatever. But Scott, I'm going to let you go because I know you've got, as usual, a busy day ahead of you, and I really appreciate all the time you gave me today to be able to chat about the Huskies and Montreal life. And I'm looking forward to being able to talk with you again as we get closer to the opening game and see how the team's looking. And best of luck this summer with any more recruiting you need to do and getting the guys ready to get on the field again.
I appreciate that, Linda. Thank you so much for having me on.
Anytime. Take care.
Great
All
day.
right, Scott Flory, head coach of the Huskies. Looking forward to seeing them back on the field again. We still have a few minutes in the show, so let's talk NHL playoffs. Woo-hoo, yeah, baby. Playoffs are coming. We are almost all set with who's playing who. So let's take a look at what we do know right now and what needs to happen for us to finalize the last couple of spots here. So let's start with the most important division, the Canadian division, or the Scotia North division. That title won by Toronto Maple Leafs. They are going to take on my Montreal Canadiens. That series will start Thursday, May 20th. 1979, the last time these two teams met in a playoff series, won by the Canadiens on their way to beating the New York Rangers for the Stanley Cup Championship. Go back to the days of Darryl Sittler, Larry Robinson, the Flowers, Steve Shutt, Ken Dryden in the nets. What a great series. Yeah, I know I should be mentioning a few more Leafs. So there's Guy Tiger, who was also playing, and I believe he got a very costly penalty against Larry Robinson that produced a playoff goal that was huge in Montreal, being able to take care of the Maple Leafs in that series. Another exciting series that is going to be up is the Edmonton Oilers and the Winnipeg Jets. That one will begin the day before on Wednesday, May 19th. Now, I know Winnipeg's really been tanking. No gas left in those Jets, it's appeared. But they are going to have a few days to rest before that series starts. You know, Connor Hellebuck, he plays the way he can play in the nets. You get that offense going again. Boy, oh boy, this could be a humdinger of a series. And, you know, we all know what Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl can do. We've seen Mike Smith in the nets, and he has been rejuvenated this season, had a good season for the Oilers. So this is going to be interesting. So, well, let's head down to south of the border, the Mass Mutual East division title won by the Pittsburgh Penguins. And boy, oh boy, haven't they been on fire lately with Sid the Kid, showing he is not getting any older. He is still looking like he did back in his early days. Taking on the New York Islanders, kind of a up and down, but it's a Barry Trotz team. Do not ever count out a Barry Trotz-led team. That series will begin May 16th. Then you have the Washington Capitals taking on the Boston Bruins, and boy, Taylor Hall, what a great pickup by the Boston Bruins there. And he has been playing very, very well for them. They certainly have a solid team. Ovechkin, always have to watch him. He has been dangerous. If you can keep Tom Wilson off the ice and maybe just let him sit in the dressing room for the entire playoffs, I think the Capitals could take care of the Boston Bruins. But you stick Wilson on the ice and bad things happen. I'm not a Tom Wilson fan, in case you hadn't figured that out, but I just would prefer he not be on the ice for any playoffs, any games at all, period. All right, let's shift again. The Discover Central Division champs, the Carolina Hurricanes, taking on the Nashville Predators. Predators a little up and down. I like the Carolina Hurricanes. I think that they have built a solid team again this year, and that series will begin May 17th. And then we have the All-Florida series that begins May 16th, and that is the Florida Panthers taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. That'll be a fun one to watch, but, you know, tough not to go with Tampa Bay in this series. But, you know, an all-Florida matchup, you know, the rivalry, that one as well is going to be a good one. Now, out in the West, we do not have a division title champion yet. The Colorado Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights are kind of battling it out right now, and tonight will decide things. Now, the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Los Angeles Kings. Gregor, the morning guy on Cool FM, that's his favorite team. Sorry, Gregor, man, they just were sucking slew water this year. I think I can say that. So the Kings, not even a playoff contender here. So if Colorado beats the Kings this evening, Colorado will capture the President's Cup as well as that West Division title, and they will have home ice advantage through the entire 2021 playoffs. So a huge game tonight. If they lose, the Vegas Golden Knights take the President's Cup, that West Division title, and will host the playoffs all the way through. Now, that will determine who plays the Blues and who plays the Wild. If Avalanche, as I mentioned, win tonight, they will play the Blues. So if they lose, they get the Wild, and Vegas Golden Knights get the St. Louis Blues. So, man, this is just going to be wild, wild stuff. So that Blues series, that will start May 17th. The Wild series, whichever team it is, will begin on May 16th. So let the playoff pools begin. Let the betting begin. Little rivalries. You got a buddy who's a fan of your opposite team. Start the trash talk, folks. The fun is set to begin. So that is going to be Sportsline YXE for this week. This show is brought to you through the help of the website Know YXE, helping you get to know Saskatoon. So I want to thank producer Ian Roach for being able to get me on and kind of sort of maybe looking good. Maybe not. Deborah Haubrick taking care of all the social media so that I'm not trying to multitask, because that doesn't always work well. So I want to thank them both for helping me out today. Want to thank my heard but unseen co-hosts, Lefty Munster and Deanna, who certainly have been chiming in with their thoughts on life, the universe, and everything sports related. We will see you next Thursday at 12:15. Stay safe. Wash your hands and make sure you're wearing a mask whenever you're going into a building. Do not be silly about this, folks. We all have to work together. Get your vaccination. Let's get these sports teams back on the field so that we have some things to look forward to as we keep moving forward. Have a wonderful day, and there are new Expos mugs out there. Check the Montreal Canadiens, the Tricolore website. And I have a feeling I mispronounced that, and I'm really sorry to my French Canadian friends in Montreal. Take care, folks. Bye now.